So we've got a bunch of Hurleys here that have varying states of brokenness, and I want to talk about what ones can be fixed, which ones cannot, and how to tell the difference, and what you should do if you break a stick in one of the repairable ways so that you can ensure it can be repaired. So for example, this goal stick here, you can see this dark black line. This is actually a previous repair, stronger than the wood itself, and has been broken. So this repair is usually very easy to accomplish. The pieces just slot right back in together and throw the adhesive in, clamp it up, and you're good to go. The challenge with this one is that the two pieces have been separate for months, if not years. And due to the nature of wood, pieces have changed dimensionally as they've taken on and lost water. So at this point, they don't actually line up quite perfectly, but we should be able to make it work. We can go through that one later. So a worse example of that kind of longitudinal break is this guy right here. Stick in defense, caught the toe of someone else's hurl, and split it like an axe. So this is fairly easy to repair. The challenge obviously is the missing chunk. So we've had some pretty good luck in this specific area, being able to backfill with Bondo, maybe on a couple of applications to kind of build it up and then reshape the toe. This is a little bit larger than some that we have repaired in the past, so we'll see. Not 100% sure how that's going to go. But normally, if you just had a longitudinal break like this, you'd be good to go. So this here, another pretty standard longitude break. The thing that makes this one a little bit more challenging is it's obviously not completely separated yet. Not always a huge problem. Sometimes the best thing to do is to go ahead and break it the rest of the way before you can grab some adhesive and throw it in there and get it repaired. The really challenging aspect of this one is this is an excellent stick for one, so the grain is perfectly parallel all the way down the handle. So much so you can see on the back here that crack goes way into the grip. And we've actually got kind of a double split happening here. I think that this one can be repaired. It's going to take a little bit more effort than most and a whole lot of clamps and things like that, but we can see that again later. And you'll notice that because this one has stayed together in the same physical piece of wood, there has not been much dimensional shift. It goes right back to where it came from. So normally this kind of cross break is one of the easier ones to repair. It looks terrible. It looks like this stick is done for and will never see the light of day again. But in fact, it provides so much surface area for the adhesive and good clamping area and so on that this is very, very easy to repair. Sometimes you'll need to back it up with a little bit more structure after the fact. I've seen people wrap it in Kevlar. If the break goes further down, you can band it. There's a lot of options here, but this one's very simple to replace, or excuse me, to repair. This one, however, is in fact unrepairable because it is a compound break. So this one broke. Let's see if I can see it. Yeah, so this one broke and then broke again further down the handle. And same thing for the boss end. It broke and then broke again just under the maker's stamp there. So this one, this is done. It probably can be repaired, but it's just not worth the effort, unfortunately. I mean, if it was your super sentimental stick that you wanted to carry around, yeah, maybe. So another kind of break that I didn't talk about previously was just the standard run-of-the-mill chip. So I picked this up at training the other day, pulling a sideline cut with a not so great field, and caught a rock. And so when this broke, it actually stayed attached and just kind of hung there like that. I went ahead and pulled it off and put it in my pocket so I didn't have to leave the field and grab another stick. This is not that big of a deal. What I needed to make sure that I did when I was done is put the pieces back together and keep them together until I'm able to fix this. So all I needed to do was to just kind of lay it in place, put a little tape on it, and make sure that it stayed there until I was able to get it repaired. So that's the other thing that you need to make sure that you do. If you break a stick, if it comes completely apart, make sure that you get it put back together physically, and then put some tape or some packing material, strapping, I don't know, whatever on there that you need to, so that the pieces stay next to each other while any moisture might be being exchanged or anything like that. So pretty straightforward. All we need to do is clean it up. Just get a bunch of the dirt out of there. It'll probably be a little stained, got grass and things like that in there. It's not important. As long as the pieces go back tightly, you're going to get a good seal. So I think that's going to be pretty good. So let's take a look. Now sometimes you might have to actually, because of the way they broke, you might have to actually slide them into place. And that looks fairly decent. I think that whatever kind of difference we have going on there can be sanded out or ignored entirely. So I'm just getting the tube ready here, and hang on. We'll throw it into place. So usually just throw a generous little blob on there, and then make sure that you use some kind of disposable tool to get full coverage in all of the exposed area. So there's no need to be really fiddly and mask things off or protect areas or anything like that. Well, except my table, which is why the plastic is down. But other than that, the material is very easy to scrape off when everything is said and done. So we seem to have a pretty good amount in there. We'll take the excess off and just kind of dab it to the side. And there we go. So just like we test fit before, we'll take our piece, place it into position, and slide it home. Alright, so you'll have a generous bit of squeeze out. You can take it off if you want to, but like I said, it's very easy to scrape this off. It's really rubbery once it's cured. So I'm actually going to leave it as is. And what I have is just some basically like wax paper. You can use plastic. Don't necessarily want to use paper unless you want to scrape a lot, but this will be pretty straightforward. All I need to do is just wrap it around, hold it in place, and then I've got a couple of standard spring clamps that we will just apply directly to the area head on. That should be pretty much it. It'll take about 24 hours or so to cure, and then we'll show you what it looks like to get it all cleaned up. So let's take a look at that goalie stick. So here's that goalie hurl. Like I mentioned, it's got that previous repair, same kind of material, hopefully, as this, and going to go through pretty much the same process. Thankfully, this one's going to be a little bit more straightforward. Just lay a nice bead down, and then we will come back and spread it all out and hopefully get a good result. Again, I like to use the skewer or something, again, pointy and disposable, because the way the wood breaks sometimes is you'll have little grooves and channels that you have to get the adhesive into before you actually have full coverage. So I like to basically draw everything over the whole surface and Get it all in there good. So now that we have it completely covered, we'll want to take a look at the other piece and make sure that there is no areas of grooves or anything else like that that we need to make sure we hit. And in fact, you can see in here we've got a little bit of a crack going on internally. So just want to make sure that I get some extra material into, some extra adhesive into there, and do our best to get a 100% coverage in this area. And sometimes we might have to actually pry it apart and use another stick to get down inside there. There we go. Good stuff. Nice. Okay. So now from here, we just need to put it together. So we get the pieces all nice and lined up. Again, slide them into position. There we go. This is going to be a little bit of a struggle. You might want to. All right. So that's nice and lined up. We're getting some good squeeze out. At this point, I'm going to put a single layer of stretch or hand wrap on this to get some tension on it, and then we will throw some clamps on. Alright, so we've made a bit of a mess, but we're all strapped up and nice and tight. From what I can see in here, everything's looking well aligned. If we needed to, we could actually go ahead and throw some pipe clamps on there and things like that for more complex operations. I've got a little bit of a jig that we can use to hold all of this stuff in place, and maybe we'll go through that another time. But for now, this stick is ready to wait. It'll take about a day for everything to cure. We'll take it apart and give it a good scrape down, throw a band on it, and get her back on the field.